Fairground Road the other day when I came through there. That got almost a second. Mhm.
Wait
Yeah,
till you
yeah,
load it.
split them up, divide them.
All right, I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors to order. As always, let's start with the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before we do a minute of silence, Mr. Gregg, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I simply wanted to report, and I don't know how many people are aware of this, but Roger Morton, who was the judge of the Madison County General District Court from 1998 to 2013, passed away this morning. He came on the bench replacing Franklin Jenkins. Some of you may recall Judge Jenkins served with some distinction and with a sense of humor most of the time. He and I shared the same college at Hampton-Sydney, so we were both impeccably well educated. But he was a good fellow. He was a good jurist. He was fair, and the bar is diminished as a result of his passing.
Please keep him in your thoughts. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. The only addition I have is I want to go put 7A. I want the discussion of joint special meeting. I'll explain more when we get there, but I think we've all heard about October or November. I'd like to hear what everybody else say. Anybody else have anything we need to add to the agenda this afternoon?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. No, sir.
Anybody? What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, public comment. Public comment. Yes, sir. If you come up and give us your name and by all means.
Hi, I'm Jim Howe. You can probably hear me anyways. All right. Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members of the board, I'm here to talk about the Creekersville swinging bridges. I should never do that. All right. Okay. Now what I say is on record. Anyways, I spoke with Mr. Yao briefly. He was down in Creekersville about a week ago about the school project, and he was asking about the swinging bridges. And I realized it's been quite some time since I appeared before the board and updated you. So he suggested I might come to the meeting and do that, and so here I am. So let me, and there's a few new members of the board, so I'll give just a brief background to sort of update them, and then I'll talk about where we are now. And I see Carrie Shepard is here. So when I talk about VDOT's perspective, if I say anything that's not right, she can correct me. So. But anyways, all right. So the last time I think I was here, it was in June of 21. And at that time, I'd reported to the board that the landowners, there's 5 total landowners for the two bridges, were willing to donate their land to a community foundation to maintain them for the future. And we had an insurance estimate for the bridges, so we found that we could cover them insurance-wise, liability-wise. And at that point, we were trying to find an attorney, not eternity, an attorney for eternity to help us with the foundation in the 501c3 and so forth. And we did have a community group. At that point, there was sort of no further word from VDOT as to what they were going to do. There were some things in the works of, well, maybe they could contribute money instead of tearing the bridge down towards the foundation and so forth. But really sort of stalled. And we had a budget estimate of about $130,000 to repair the Lindsay Lane Bridge and maintain the bridges for 10 years. And again, as far as background, there's really two bridges that we're talking about here. The Lindsay Lane Bridge was closed by VDOT, and what I call the upper ridge of the Meadowlanes Bridge was not. And so that one is currently open, but it's really the Lindsay Lane Bridge that we're mostly concerned about. So that's where things stood in sort of June of 21. And then about the end of July, early August, we did find an attorney to help us with the foundation, Bruce Clark from up in Culpeper, who's very versed in real estate and 501c3s and is a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. He offered to help us through this process, and he's been helping us through this process. So we found an attorney, and then I would say subsequently, sort of fall and the holidays came, and I got overwhelmed with too many things, and I sort of let things languish. And I apologize to the board and to the community for that. But I'm sort of back in the saddle now. And that was prompted by a neighbor, Marty McGettrick, who had spoken with Bruce. And Bruce said, oh, there's a regional meeting of VDOT up in Culpeper, and perhaps you should attend and talk about the bridges. And so he did, and I think he brought the case to him. And something had happened. They had now had a new district engineer. Sean Nelson had taken over. And Sean Nelson then, I think, became a little bit concerned about the bridges and said, he corresponded with Marty and said he would look into it further. So that was in April of this year. So Marty sort of got the ball rolling again. And then Marty was away for the summer. So Sean came down in June, and because he wanted to look at the bridges and the situation. So I met with Sean and showed him the bridges, talked with him about the community foundation, and sort of just gave him the picture. And he said he would go away and do some homework and get back to us when Marty was back in town. And so then on August 5th of this year, so we're talking about a little over a month ago, Sean called a meeting here at the Madison County building to discuss the bridges. And at that meeting, so was Sean was there, and Carrie Shepard from VDOT. Marty was there, Marty McGettrick, Bruce Clark, Jonathan Weekly, Jonathan was there, and myself. And at that time, Sean said that he looked into the situation, and he saw that as far as the Meadows Lane Bridge, there was really no public need for that concerned VDOT, and so that was off their hands. They weren't going to put any resources into it. But that as far as the Lindsay Lane Bridge, because there is the low water vehicle bridge, they could justify a need for the pedestrian bridge, the swinging bridge, and that VDOT would put the resources into it to rehabilitate the bridge. And so, which was a great piece of news, because as you recall, the committee was going to have to do that. And so he said, basically, whatever it costs VDOT, it's VDOT's position was that they don't really have right of way to either bridges. And so they would have to contact the landowners and get permission to come and look at the bridge and survey it. So they did send letters out to the Lindsay Lane bridge owners. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know if they surveyed or not, but I think they were planning to have that done by the end of this month. So that is progressing. And Sean said that so that when they do that, they will have a footprint, which is necessary to donate then to the foundation to take over the bridge once VDOT has repaired it or rebuilt it, and so forth. And so we can do that. So that is moving along. And he said the process may take 6 to 8 months to complete. So we're looking at maybe April of sometime in the springtime. So that means that if that's the case, then the community foundation has to have everything, the 501c3 approved, the funding in place, and so forth. So VDOT could potentially hand off to us. So that's what we're shooting for. let's see. Yeah, and so the current situation is pretty much that. I think the community still looks at this as a two-bridge package because both bridges are a valuable asset to the community and they're used in different ways. So I think the goal of the foundation is to incorporate both of those into the 501c3 and raise the funds to maintain them once VDOT hands off. And so that's where we are right now. And so we do have an attorney who's helping us through the process. And I would just like to say at this point, publicly, if there's anyone that is interested and would like to serve on the board for the foundation, to please contact me and I will certainly let that be known. And, we're going to put the board together and move things forward. So that's pretty much where things stand at this point. Yeah. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions? Thank you for the update, Mr. Howe.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Great. All right. Other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathleen Culmer, and I live in Hood. Back in May of 2017, I came here and asked consider improving Pea Ridge Road, the road on which I live. And I'm happy to report that a couple of weeks ago, September 1st, that road was paved. And so I'm here to say thank you. And to VDOT as well.
Good.
There you go.
Thank you. We do not get those comments ever. That's not the way it works.
Like Mr. Howe said, it should be done by the end of September. I have where that stands if it's complete yet or not, but the goal is by the end of September we'll have. Should coincide with the length of time that it takes the private group to finish and finalize their group, the 501c3.
Well, thank you. That was my concern, ownership being ready to be received. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jim, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, that's right. Most likely next year construction, and then we can work on the process to abandonment and, go forward from there, whichever steps we decide.
Okay. I'll keep that as a regular update
Just-
for the
just
board.
Think
Thank you.
how fast
Matt.
the internet will be when the bridge is complete. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here we go. All right, so like I said, just short presentation today. On our preliminary engineering side of the house, the biggest change or update that I can provide for you is for the, there we go. The first item right there, this Route 707 Nethers Road Bridge replacement. Previously, the add date was 2024. That has been accelerated to November or December of this year for an add date. We just had a pack last week. We expect, if this add date is met, which it should be, that the construction will likely begin in spring of next year and take approximately 6 months and be complete by July, August next year. And the other two bridges, or the other bridge on 707 remains unchanged. And the Shelby R-Cut project is also still moving along. We are in the right-of-way phase right now. We expect that to be complete next year in time for our pre-ad conference, and advertisement date remains unchanged in August of 2023. Rural Rustic updates. We did just pave Pea Ridge Road. So that is almost complete. We still have to do the traffic engineering review, which we do after every Rural Rustic paving, which entails just checking the speed limit and making sure that there's no signage that's needed for, sharp curves or anything like that. And then next, which was fully funded this past July, so fiscal year 2023, is Desert Road Phase 1. We have started the scoping and environmental review on that project. For construction activities, we just completed a double line pipe replacement on Leon Road. That was reopened to traffic on September 2nd. And then following that, we had to install some guardrail and do a little bit more kind of cleaning up. We still have the lines that we need to paint, but that project is essentially complete at this time. As far as traffic engineering, we still have the scenic byway on our list. It took a long time for us to get the signs fabricated, but we have those now. So as our sign crew gets time away from painting, because it's painting season since it's summer, they are prioritizing that sign installation throughout Madison, Greene, and Albemarle counties. There was also a request in the past for a speed review of Hurt Hollow Road. We did study that. Our traffic engineering department went out there and studied that. There were no crashes to report in the last 5 years. The road is only 0.4 miles long. It's a rural local route with less than 400 vehicles per day. So we found that no additional signage is recommended at this time, and no further action on our part.
You have some numbers on Hurt Hollow. I'd assume Mr. Weekly's going to get a guess sooner or later, and Cardi may catch him at the Upland store. So we probably should get some numbers to us on what y'all found on Hurt Hollow.
That's the average daily trip,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
it's
Did you just cite that, Ms. Shepherd?
I don't think I just mentioned it, but it's
No.
55. I can send you.
55.
Yes, and that ADT is from 2020.
Hey, that's humming up that road. I mean, I've never seen a vehicle on it, but I mean, still.
And
All
I can
right.
send you the technical memorandum for your records.
Probably should have that. Thank you.
And that is all I have for you today, unless there's any questions, concerns.
All right, Mr. Weekly, or go
I've
ahead,
got one.
Cardi, go.
I've got one. Yeah, Ms. Shepherd, I was contacted by somebody that lives on Forest Drive.
Where are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they said that the work that was done down there is deteriorating in a number of places. So if you all could get somebody just to ride down there and see if you agree, that what somebody thinks is deteriorating, another person or VDOT might not think so. But anyhow, I told them I would ask.
Okay.
Just take a look.
Okay.
Good work. Mr. Weekly.
I just want to make sure we captured a prior concern of Supervisor Jewett about the traffic timing at Fishback and 29. I was out there earlier today, but I just want to make sure if timing's different or if there's been any additional changes. I know you had an engineer out in like July, but is there any additional information on that light?
The last update I have, our signal tech did review the light again, and he verified that the signal timing for the clearance, which the clearance includes the yellow, so the yellow and the red, is appropriate for that intersection, and it's timed along with lights throughout the corridor. So if we have to make tweaks or change anything to that light, it's going to affect every light along that corridor. We felt like our signal tech felt like it was operating according to our standards, and that there was no justification to change it outside of the standards, because there's been four traffic. Where's my note here? The crash history over 5 years has been 4 crashes that could be due to people running the light, and they didn't feel like that was enough justification to deviate from the standards. However, this is not my forte. So if we need to have an offline conversation about this, we certainly can. So
What did
not
you
closed
see
book.
25 minutes ago, Jim? Go ahead.
Less than 1 second delay between the red changing from red on 29 to green on Fishback. That's been consistent. So it's still a problem, and we need to follow up with it. And if we still can't get any satisfaction, I'd like to know what the appeal process is for the local government, because it has to be fixed. I mean, I don't know what the technical standards are, but from common sense, I don't know how many times I've pulled up to that road, the light changes, and I have to go around somebody on 29 who is halfway in the intersection before they stopped. So I would appreciate follow-up on that, please.
But anybody else have anything for Ms. Shepherd? Ms. Shepherd, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Consent agenda. We have two items. We have the minutes from 8/23/22, and then we have a supplemental appropriation, which is the finalized contract for architectural services for this facility and down the hill, $28K. What do y'all want to do on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agendas.
I second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. First meeting of the month, we're going to walk around the room. Jerry, how's Parks and Rec? All right. Somebody give him a microphone, and then y'all can pass it around. Yeah, he's got a pocket microphone too. Go ahead.
On October 22nd, we have the Halloween Fest with games for kids and costume contests. And then we have a movies in the park at night with Nightmare Before Christmas. August 29th, we have the Haunted Woods. That is our biggest fundraiser of the year. We've had in the past 500 to 600 people come through a night for that. There's only one night of that. Alan, can you show the video? You done? Okay. All right. Well, on November 5th, we have the Heroes and Villains Dodgeball. In December 10th, we have a S'mores of Santa event with a light show will be shown nightly all through New Year's. Fall sports have started up with soccer playing the first games this past weekend, and winter sports registration starts October 1st. Hoover Ridge Outdoor Rec Center is still in the process of registering for grants and other possible donations.
What was the most recent donation you got, Jerry?
Last one we got was $10,000, and that was for go towards a hockey rink. And that they've already given 10 before. That group has given 20, and they said they want to possibly give more.
That is
So,
great. Absolutely great.
It's coming on great.
Good afternoon. September the 9th, we had the inspection at the landfill for DEQ. Everything passed. It looked good out
here. So just wanted to give a very brief update on finance. Obviously, coming in the door, I have to familiarize myself with all the processes, but the big thing that I've been working on the last week is just understanding with the ERP implementation, where we're at with that, meeting with all the key players and the PMs, getting up to speed with all the PSRs that they've done over the last year. So I really feel like I have a good handle on that. And then grant administration, the grants and where we are with all of our grants and having a tracking device for that in my office and a compliance calendar, putting together a compliance calendar for the department. So also building a roadmap for updating processes that might need to be updated in the department. So those are the things I have to report this time.
You've had a busy 2 weeks.
Yes.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions for Ms. Warren?
How's traffic coming to work?
Oh,
Not bad?
about a minute and a half. Not bad at all.
Try to avoid the rabbits.
Can't complain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Would Mr. Howell, would you pass it back to Ms. Lauk back there? Thank you, Mr. Howell. Ms. Lauk.
Hi. So for August, things have slowed down a little bit through the summertime, which has been good because I've got to clean up a few things and projects that we've kind of put to the side. Plus, we've had vacations and stuff like that. But we sent to the state $57,538, and we remitted to the county $25,355. We did 177 land records, 33 concealed handguns, and 10 civil cases. I attended the Clerks Convention in Williamsburg in August. Very informative, had a lot going on, and a lot of technology was brought to my attention. So I'm looking into a couple of those things. One thing we are going to start doing starting in October is, believe it or not, we're going to start e-recording. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out for Madison County because although I don't think a lot of attorneys in the immediate area will use it, I feel like a lot of the banks will start using for certificates of satisfaction and assignments. I'm a little old school. I like to see that document and I like to see that it's an original signature, but I think the the legislature probably is going to mandate it
what-
pretty soon. So
what-
I might as
what-
well be
what is-
on board.
What is e-recording?
So instead of walking into the office or mailing us the certificate or the deed, they will submit it online and we will record it from there. The money will go directly into our bank account once we say that it's good and we record it. Then the company that I signed the contract with will remit it right directly into our bank. Kiosk, we have a computer right now that we're not using for anything, but there's nothing wrong with it. And so we believe that it could be used for marriage kiosk. If somebody comes in to apply for a marriage license, they'll fill out the form and submit it to us, and then all we have to do is print the paper out. There is a new state library grant that I'm going to be applying for that's running right now through November 15th. So I will be applying for that. And with the old grant from the spring, I was just told that all of my books are completed and they hope to have them to me within the next week or two. And I think that's it.
Any questions, Ms. Lauk? We are all interested in your wedding kiosk. All right, Livingston. Or go ahead, please. Yeah, go Livingston. Come on now. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and I moved. Still got me. We're busy. I'm busy. Alan's been helping out quite a bit. We got Miss Jennifer set up this week on her new system so far. It should all be working good. Next week we got to go down and get Joe and Miss Yao hooked up down there and switched around. I think we're going to be switching around some offices also. Put in another desktop over at tourism. I still got to get back over and get the QuickBooks working on the new one for Miss Connie over there. And we're also still working on getting the Wi-Fi signal stronger in the tourism building for the customers over there that are renting. It's adequate, but it needs to be stronger. But I haven't heard anything since we moved them over to the other one. Have you heard anything, Tracy? Well, it's working, but it can be better. Setting up a new network monitor help desk area for our ticketing system and just general monitoring of all of our servers and switches and routers. And the API, which basically gives an interface between Tyler and Avinity. I'm starting next week working with their tech people on that. So that's all part of the ERP project. We're still keeping the training going for the ERP. If you want to call it training, it's still more them setting up our environment. We're kind of just helping them along.
Good evening. I've got both the EMS report and the emergency management report. Noah sends his apologies. He's on a call. Got particularly hard today. We're actually on our 9th call as I rolled over here today. So it's quite a bit in one day for us. Last month for EMS, had a total of 150 calls. Average response time was just under 10 minutes from time of call to time of arrival on scene. We had 5 calls dispatched to Greene County. We answered one of those. 3 to Orange County, again, answered one of those. Personnel, all full-time positions are filled. We just hired Bruce Stark. He is a retiree from Fairfax County. He's a captain up there. Quite a bit of experience with communication. Also helped with their rapid task force up there as well. So he's going to bring a lot of experience to us. If we end up with a full-time position later on, he's expressed interest in that. He is with us for a part-time position. EMS standby, we have begun covering the Madison County High School and Woodbury Forest High School football games, and as well as the other typical events that we have in the county, like the Taste of the Mountain festivals, got Gray's Mountain apple harvest coming up as well. And that leads me to emergency management. Do you have any questions on EMS?
Yeah, do y'all have any active volunteers currently?
One.
Yeah, better than zero.
So, and we are we're trying to actively recruit. At Taste of the Mountains, we had applications there for volunteers. We actually gave out 2 or 3 there, so we're really trying to do that. And as we've expressed before, it's very, very hard for volunteers in our current environment, just with the education requirements and training requirements that it takes. It's very hard for somebody to do that and hold down a full-time paying job on top of that. So we're trying to get more creative with that and figure out ways to recruit and retain on there.
So, hey, Gavin.
Yes, sir.
So when you say all full-time positions are filled,
Yes.
I mean, unlike the sheriff, where he says, I've got everything filled except that, 4 or 5 of those can't go on active duty for a while because of this or that. Yours, when you hire them, they're ready to roll.
Typically, there is still a preception process that has to take place when they're hired. So let's take Mr. Stark, for instance. He's a paramedic, tons of experience with Fairfax County, but he still has to learn our protocols, our standard operating guidelines, et cetera, how we do things in Madison County. He has to get familiar with the county itself, although he is one of the original Madison EMS employees if you go back 20 years ago. So he has some level of experience with us, but we're a completely different agency. And that can take a few weeks to 4 weeks, 5 weeks, but it's not as long a process as going to a full academy and doing those things.
Right.
So all of our people are healthy with the exception of Division Chief Ham, who sustained an injury last week. But he's mostly capable at this point. He just can't lift his arm up like this right now. So I do this every time I walk by him. So, but he was very lucky on that.
Anything else on EMS? Emergency Services, sir.
All right, we'll make this real quick. I just completed the annual update of the emergency operations plan with input from everybody that supplied those pieces of information that I requested. We can still electronically make those changes if there's any more information to come forward. That's a requirement from VDEM that we do update that every year. That's not to be confused with the 2024 full-scale update of that document, which I'm going to be starting now. And it'll be a couple-year process, so I'm going to be looking for people to be a part of that committee, if you will, as we sit down and really look at every aspect. There's a number of new things that have to be added to it by legislation in Virginia to be included in it, and other suggestions that they've made. So that's an ongoing process. It takes up quite a bit of time. He mentioned that went very, very well. No major incidents. The only thing that we did have come up were a complaint about bees, which we took care of that. Brian and I and Mooney segregated that area off so that people couldn't get real close to it. And as far as I am aware, there were no other incidents related to that. So luckily no bee stings or no cases of anaphylaxis or anything. So, and we EMS gave out over 500 file of life packets to people in attendance. So that'll definitely be helpful to EMS when they respond to residences. If people can't talk for themselves, we'll have all their medical information, medications, that kind of stuff. The next LEPC is scheduled for September 23rd, right here at 1 o'clock. So we're looking forward to that. I have 2 people going next week to Texas for all hazards training with FEMA, and myself and Brian will be going in October for the same training. So that should be very helpful to the county. And I've been continuing my training with FEMA for the basic academy, completed the science of disasters a couple weeks ago, and there's still 3 more sections to that for the basic academy. So trying to come up to speed and find the things that I don't know. So, and it's been very edifying, learning a lot of things that we need to be doing that we haven't been doing. And so looking forward to implementing some of those changes as we move forward. And sorry, that wasn't as short as I thought it would be.
It's pretty informative, though. Any questions for Gavin? Thank you. Keep it
Thank
up.
you.
Sheriff?
Good afternoon. 38 seconds ago. On the positive side, we have Turkey Trump coming up October 31st, Monday night, 6 to 8 at the high school. Look forward to everybody seeing everybody. Clay shows up with something. Not really sure what he brings every year, but he's got plenty of candy. We've had a busy summer with the special events here in the county. That's my positive things. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Brian?
All right. Well, it's not too much more to report other than what we had last month. The tower is up if anybody's not seen it. Shelter was delivered, generator was up, propane tank was delivered yesterday and has been set. Still working on the Beautiful Run tower site and the Blakey tower site. The alarm boards are what the holdup are right now. They came in, they came into their supply booth yesterday. They'll be delivered here tomorrow for Blakey, Beautiful Run, and the Greene County tower site for the generator boards over there. Once that gets done, those sites are essentially done outside of microwave. Microwave will be the last thing they put up just because they don't want to have to realign once they put it up for the last time. So that will be dependent on one of Greene County's site that is yet to be determined exactly where it will be. They have a very good idea, but they're running into some issues with some land and right-of-way type of thing. So should be done quicker rather than later. But that's the one hold up on the microwave side. Last month we did notepad mark here. All right, so last month we had a total calls handled 3,759. Total calls for services were 1,002. And right now we're actively interviewing for 2 vacant positions with 1 trainee. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Question for Brian.
One question, Brian. What's the AFG grant money going to be used for if we were to get that?
Yeah, the Assistance to Firefighters grant can only be used for fire and EMS radios. So we've applied for every radio, with the exception of a few that have leaked in here and there that we didn't capture prior to the grant. It's roughly $600,000. They are actively awarding that now. A lot of jurisdictions around us are getting that award, but we have not been notified yay or nay one way or the other yet.
And so that money has to do with the rest of our EMS project.
Well, the fire department is the one that actually applied for it as EMS, and all the volunteer fire stations and the EMS in Greene County as riders. So that grant is actually much radio.
Wasn't it like if we get awarded, wasn't it a savings to Madison of like $600K or something?
Yeah, it's a 90-10 grant. So it doesn't cover the full boat, but it's a heck of a lot less than we'll have to pay if we don't get it. This is the second time we've applied for it. We did not get it the first time. I had conversations with FEMA and a lot of the grant writers to see how we should word things and what we should put in there. We redid some things on how we did it and resubmitted, but we still have not heard back whether or not we got awarded yet.
All right. Other questions for Brian? Thank you. Legan?
Yeah. So starting Monday, we'll have Cheryl. It's going to come down as a permit technician, and we're looking forward to that. I will say, last couple of weeks, I was a little nervous about the RDA system and learning. It's very quirky. I'll have to report. I'm an excellent permit technician. So I've actually learned that, which has been good. So we can have more than one or two people in the office that will process permits. So and I know eventually we're going to move away from that, but until then, I think learning the system has been a good thing. Just the number of hours in a day to do everything we have going on is the problem. And also ENS, where Joe Sexton, the maintenance department, will be starting. He'll start training in Richmond, and he goes to Richmond, the beach, for 3 modules all of October. So he'll be provisionally, I don't call it licensed or certified as the ENS administrator after he gets those 3 courses done in October. And he'll have a year to take the exam. So looking forward to having both on soon. As far as hearings go, just October 5th, I know we had hearings last September, a nice long meeting, a lot of discussion, but October looks like, I'll just show you the agenda. You can see it's a lot of words on here, but for October, we're looking at 6 hearings. Now, we'll say 5 of them are fairly straightforward. I think we can move through a couple of by right subdivisions. We had the rezoning that was proposed out on a small rezoning out on James City Road near Kirtley. The big one at October will be the Creekersville Elementary School, which is moving forward, and that'll be advertised in the paper next week and the week after. As far as November, we'll talk about that here when I come up a little later. But other than that, building zoning moving along. Looking forward to our new staff folks. We've been very busy, and I think it's a good thing. So,
Questions for Ligon? All right, Tracy.
So the main thing I have to report is that Taste of the Mountains did go very well with the help of pretty much everyone in this room. All hands on deck kind of thing. We had great numbers. Different vendors have different responses for how things went. Some did very well, some didn't do as well. So, but I was happy with the numbers, happy with the people I spoke to. That was the main thing on that. And our website views went up another 3,000. So they doubled in July from like 5,000-ish to 11,000. Then in August, 14,000. So that was also good. And the analytics show that first they hit events, then they hit lodging, which is the number and the way we want to see that happen. And then wineries. That's number 3, in case you're wondering. Next up for me would be, I'm out September 15th to the 27th. However, I'm going to try to be at that meeting the 27th. Then I have the Quad County Business Summit coming up October 12th. So I'm trying to encourage businesses to apply for that free money for the quad tank, which is actually happening in Louisa. But I think the money's up to 5,000 so far. Baddie call with Jonathan. And I just attached the regional commissions, the VA 250 that they're doing. I don't foresee us doing a grant for the 250th for Virginia's freedom, but we will form our own committee, which is later on the agenda, I know. But just to have it, Patrick said he's willing to do that regionally. That's really all I have.
All right, questions for Tracy? All right, Alan, what does Clarissa say? That was much longer than I anticipated.
You want me to read everything?
Yeah.
I'm just going to read it word for word. I am in Page County with a special prosecution. Thank you for the roof appropriation. We fixed the foundation and now the roof. Hopefully that will keep us squared away for a bit. Still waiting for the fiber to be hung. Met with Clark Security. Will not be using all of the funds and will focus on cameras to cover my office and facility storage with panic buttons. Storm took out the Wi-Fi in the GDC, so we are looking into data ports and more electrical outlets in our courtroom. DEP CWA attended and presented at Ginseng training with Game Department. Jennifer Hayes, who was the victim witness coordinator, attended a training for responding to mass casualty events, including events like suicides or other tragedies that affect the broader community. Domestic violence event on October 13th. Stay tuned. And driving back and losing service soon. So
That was very informative. Thank you, Alan. Finally, some online participation. All right, moving on. Old business. Jonathan, tell us about the Blue Ridge Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to report since our last meeting, there has been a meeting scheduled for the Blue Ridge Committee meeting. And forgive me, I'm bringing up my email now.
It got changed.
What's that, sir? I'm sorry.
It got changed from the 27th.
The meeting was changed from the 27th?
I got an email yesterday. Superintendent Kenny lost his mother and his sister. So they sent out some dates to try to reschedule.
Okay.
Most of them are in October. I just got that late yesterday.
All right. Thank you for that. So we will look to have that rescheduled and firm that up. My apologies. The latest was September the 27th,
Right.
but we will look to move that. So if that happens before the next board meeting, I'll just shoot an email out to you all just to let you know we are tracking that. I know the board's desire was to make sure that's reconstituting and meeting moving forward. So we will make that happen. Thank you for that information. Mr.
Questions
Yao.
on this?
Sorry, I could.
No, that's fine.
All right. New business, the Virginia 250 Commission Resolution. Mr. Weekly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The General Assembly had, basically in recognition of the Virginia or the American Revolution, they have called on the forming of commissions. They have recommended that at the locality level. As Tracy just mentioned, there's also a regional approach. At the last regional commission meeting, Mr. Monty had informed they're willing to take that on, so it just makes sense. However, other localities are also electing to form their own committee. I don't know if that will help for any funds to flow that way, but certainly Ms. Gardner and myself think it's a good idea to follow the other localities in doing so. There is a resolution considering your packet should you wish to approve and authorize the county administrator to form a local Virginia 250 committee or VA 250 committee. I would work closely with Ms. Gardner to ensure that committee would be stood up should you approve that tonight.
We have resolution 2022-12. What do y'all want to do on this? Y'all want to pass the resolution, get the committee going? Ms. Gardner, you have additional information?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution 2022-12 for the Virginia America 250 Commission resolution.
All right, motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. All right, Grays Mountain Apple Harvest Festival permit application. Have these every year. Mr. Weekly, further information.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, you are correct. This is their annual event. It's a 3-week event, or 3 weekends, I should say, in October. As all applications, definitely a sizable application. When it starts hitting 500 or over, that's reviewed by my office. Make sure that it circulates around. Everything starts through Gavin as the emergency management coordinator. He works with other departments. So we believe we have all the information that's sufficient to call this application complete. So I submit that to you as a recommendation for approval of the Apple Harvest Festival permit application.
Questions, thoughts, or motion? What do y'all want to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Graves Mountain Farm and Large Apple Harvest Festival permit.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, discussion items. Proposed changes to the subdivision ordinance and private roads. Mr. Weekly.
Thank you. Meeting, their discussion between the planning commission and ultimately the board session there. Time when it deals with private road in the county, you have a 4-lot on planning commission.